Texas A&M is traveling down to South Florida to take on the Miami Hurricanes, and this is a really big game for both of these two programs because they played last year and Texas A&M got the win, but it didn't mean much because both of these two teams played terrible last season, and they both are trying to get their programs back on the up and up, right? Now, both Miami and Texas A&M are really good up front. They got really good offensive lines, really good defensive lines. Both of these defensive lines are going to have multiple players who end up playing on Sundays. There's a lot of talent when you look at this game from the line of scrimmage standpoint. For Texas A&M, this is going to be their first true test in figuring out just how improved this is offense under new offensive coordinator Bobby Petrino. Now, they looked really good last week, and I know they didn't really play anybody of note, but they did struggle against Appalachian State, and they did struggle moving the ball offensively last season for the whole entire year. So the fact that they were able to dominate against an inferior opponent, that's what you want to see. That's improvement. But what are you going to do against a more better team? Miami has a pretty good defense. You got a really good safety duo, one of the best safety duos, if not the best safety duo in all of college football, in Cam Kitchens and James Williams. And we saw Texas A&M generate a lot of big plays in the passing game last week, something that they've been unable to do for the last couple of years under Jimbo Fisher. Are they going to be able to have the same amount of success this week against a better secondary compared to what they did in week one? And when I'm looking at Miami, they got a lot to prove also. This offense was dog water last year. Texas A&M had a dog water offense, and Miami had a dog water offense also. Now, they got a new offensive coordinator that's bringing in this spread, air raid attack pretty much. Now, I don't think that Miami is incredibly stacked at talent when it comes to receiver. You do have some guys who should be able to step up. Xavier Restrepo is my favorite player on this Hurricanes team. He's probably the most consistent, most dependable wide receiver that Tyler Van Dyke has on this team. Now, you also do have some other promising players as well who could step up and have a big game for Miami at receiver, but you really need your wide receiver position to show up in this game because you're going against one of the better secondaries in college football. Texas A&M has a really good secondary. Their corners are top-notch. Their safeties are top-notch. But Miami has a top-notch quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke. And if you can't forget what the hell happened in 2022 to him, his 2021 campaign was absolutely insane. And if he plays like how he did in this game in 2021, there's a great chance that Miami pulls off the upset. And Texas A&M is only a 4-point favorite going into this game, despite the fact that they have the better roster. And the reason for that is because I think Tyler Van Dyke does make this potentially a game that could be decided on who gets the ball last. I'm still a big believer in Tyler Van Dyke. He has a very good arm, great size. It's just that last year, it was just a crapshoot. Miami didn't have a good team around them, didn't have a good offensive line, the receivers were inconsistent, and the offensive coordinator wasn't good. Well, you improved all three of those issues that you had last year and this year's offseason. So with the competent offensive line and some better wide receiver play, I think that we could see Tyler Van Dyke have a game that a lot of people watch on a national level and say, damn, I forgot about how good this Tyler Van Dyke dude was. Now, on the other end, Texas A&M has a really good up-and-coming quarterback. His name is Connor Wigman. And Jimbo Fisher was really high on him when he came out of his recruiting cycle. As a matter of fact, Jimbo Fisher called Connor Wigman the best quarterback coming out of that year's recruiting class. Now, you could say he's a little bit biased, but if you watch Connor Wigman last week and the majority of his true freshman season in 2022, he was really good athlete, has a really strong arm. He kind of reminds me a lot of Dak Prescott, and he doesn't really have a lot of turnover issues. And going against Miami, this is a team that you don't want to give them any extra possessions. If you're Texas A&M, you want to come in this game and you want to play a clean game. Because if you give a Mario Cristobal team extra possessions, they're going to make you pay. And plus, Miami is a very physical football team. They're going to have a good amount of time running the football against this Texas A&M defense, given how good this offensive line is. And I think for Texas A&M, defensively, yeah, you're not going to allow Miami to drop 30 on you, but I do think that Miami's offense is going to be way better than what you saw last year when you played against Miami. They got a new system, which looks to fit Tyler Van Dyke very well, and they're going to take a lot of shots down the field. And against this secondary, you like their chances. Well, you like your chances of being able to limit the big plays from this offense, but they also can beat you on the ground. They got a very physical group of running backs. And I'm a really big fan of the offensive line play that Miami received last week, especially when it came to run blocking. And in this game for Mario Cristobal, I definitely think that you're not going to try to win this thing trying to air it all out. You're going to try to win this game having a balanced approach. But I really believe that Miami should have success running the football against this Texas A&M front. I know they got a lot of athletic monsters on that defensive line, but Miami has some athletic monsters on their offensive line. And this is one of the better offensive lines in the ACC. And I know Texas A&M has one of the best defensive lines in the SEC, but I think this is a really good matchup, and I really think that Miami is going to be able to have way more success offensively than what they had last year. So the team I'm going to take to win this game, I got to go with Texas A&M. And it pains me to do this as a Hurricanes fan because I do love my Canes, and I do have some pretty low expectations for them this year, and I just don't think that they're good enough to beat Texas A&M this year. At least right now, Texas A&M has been stacking top 5 recruiting classes for the last couple of years. They're stacked up front, but they're way better at their skill position than what Miami is right now. I think that they're going to have way more explosive plays out of their wide receivers in this game than what Miami's going to get. And I don't think that Miami secondary is as good as Texas A&M secondary. I like Miami safeties, Cam Kitchens and James Williams, but I'm not really all that sold on the corners. So we'll see if Texas A&M is able to make the cornerback position of Miami kind of be a little bit of an exploit. Now, when you look at Texas A&M offensively, I mean, they got plenty of guys at wide receiver who can do damage to this Miami Hurricanes cornerback room. Meanwhile, you compare Texas A&M's receivers going up against these Miami Hurricanes cornerbacks, I think that they're going to have a good amount of success against Miami's defense. And that's why I'm going to take Texas A&M to win this game. I'll say they win this game 27-20 is my final score prediction for this matchup. I think that A&M wins this game outright, and I believe that they cover. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, though. I think this is going to be a very tough game. I think it's going to be very competitive. You got two very physical teams that are really good up front, and anytime you're good up front, that's always going to be a good clash. But I think the difference between Texas A&M winning this game and Miami losing is the talent that they have at cornerback and wide receiver. I don't know if the Miami Hurricanes wide receivers are consistently going to be able to get open against this A&M secondary, especially with the ball hawks that they have at cornerback. I love Miami safeties, but I'm a little worried about how their corners are going to handle this A&M passing attack led by Bobby Petrino calling the plays and Connor Wigman at quarterback. So give me Texas A&M to win outright, and I like them to cover.